Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butz, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
My Family Recipe is a new podcast from Food 52 and Heritage Radio Network, bringing you cherished heirloom recipes and the stories behind them. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm one half your host, Greg Bresnitz. On today's episode, we are joined by one of our oldest friends, Nika Carlson, who is now the reigning queen of Greenpoint Cidery, which is a handcrafted, natural hard cider coming to you from Hudson, New York via Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Inspired by farmhouse practices, natural wine, and the long history of apples in America, her ciders are made with traditional methods, local ingredients, and minimal intervention. We sit down to talk about her path to cider queen and all of the steps along the way. We then dip into our archives with the 2014 performance from Adrianne Lenker. So sit back, relax, and here's another episode of Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Let's see if I can remember how to play it.
I got something here, it's a chance. I'ma make my changes as I go in the city lights dance away the stars. I have met all kinds of reasons why the seasons leave their scars. I am thin as cinnamon and tarnished like these metal cars that drive along the rivers of the tar. I am weatherproof as the rain, and I fooled every lover into drinking up my pain. I am hanging by the edges of my name, but I am warm, so comfortable forgetting about the storm. I love Minnesota, Michigan, Colorado too, Atlanta, Montana, Nebraska, and the moon and you. I must have been a traveler inside of the womb, never had a place with a living room. You said a house is a tomb. Well, zoom, 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 here we go, Annie, no more planning. Isn't this dandy? I've got you and you've got me. To the lake. This time of year it's frozen through, ain't nothing gonna break. Well, I'll take you there and show you where I used to spend my time. Before working, before leaving, before wine. I love me Minnesota, Michigan, Colorado too, Atlanta, Montana, Nebraska, and the moon and you. Well, life is easy coming, it's easy go too. Hours with the birds and I guess they flew. I just can't get a grip on this place, Billy. Well, zoom, 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 here we go, Annie, no more planning. Isn't this dandy? I've got you and you've got me.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm one half your host, Greg Bresnitz. On today's show, I have someone who might be one of my oldest friends, going all the way back to Oregon, Nika Carlson of Greenpoint Cidery. Nika, welcome.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
I feel like I've been asking you to do this for a long time, and you demurred for a while, and now you're such a cider boss. I feel very honored to have you on here.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I can't believe I would have turned you down before, but as we've shown with our tech problems coming into this, maybe I'm bad with tech, missed the email. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, let's go back before the cider, not all the way back, because that would be too far, but let's go back to the bar that you owned in Williamsburg. Let's start there. Tell me about the bar, the history of it, and just what the general vibe of it was.
Sure. So I was a partial owner of a bar in Williamsburg called The Drink that opened in 2009, I believe. So we were just kind of like right on the edge of the cocktail resurgence. There were some people involved that were pretty cocktail heavy, some beer nerds, but it was mostly just a neighborhood bar that served really good drinks. And kind of our unique thing was that we did punch. We served punch. We did punch by the bowl and by the glass. And the general vibe of the place was nautical, I guess. Most of us were sailors. So I ran that bar for 7 years, I think, 6 years until it closed. My sense of time is obviously also pretty bad.
I mean, time is a flat circle, especially after this last 19 months.
Yeah, exactly. Time no longer exists. But that bar is actually where I discovered cider. So I kind of was of the same perspective, I think, that a lot of people are, that I knew what you could get at your grocery store or your bodega, and it came in a can, and it was really sweet. It's probably made from concentrated juice that was imported from China or something, and it's just, yeah, it's like a sweet drink. And I had somebody come in and bring us some Spanish ciders. And Spanish ciders are really cool. They tend to be a little bit funky and sour, and they're still, and you pour them from a height into a glass. So from like 2 or 3 feet above your glass, depending on how good you are at this.
Or into your mouth. Skip the glass.
Yeah. I mean, there were times when we poured it directly into the mouth. And I was just like blown away. And this person was an importer specifically of cider. And so I tried a bunch of French ciders and some English cider and realized what a cool tradition there is of cider here in the United States. Like it's the quintessential American beverage. I mean, literally for decades, people were like lightly drunk on cider and rum all the time. Yeah, and got into cider that way.
Pretty incredible. But we drink a lot of things in bars. I've had my fair share of whiskey, and then I didn't move to Ireland and open up a distillery. What was the beginning transition from bar owner to like, maybe I want to make some cider. Maybe I want to make some of my own?
So, I mean, the original idea was with my ex-partner. I was going to open up a bar that was focused on cider. So do something kind of like The Drink, but be cider focused. The Drink was the bar that I owned before. And I knew this guy who's a mead maker. His name is Raphael Lyon. He does a project called Enlightenment Wines and now has a bar out in Bushwick called Honey's. It's really great. And he was like, you should just make it. It's really easy. I'll teach you. Like, you can get this license. It's pretty cheap. I'll just teach you how to do it. And yeah, it snowballed from there. It was just like, now I'm a farmer and own a winery.
Well, yeah, let's break that down, because I remember you telling me that you were getting into cider and the whole saga of the drink ending. And then the next thing I know, you're like, oh yeah, I got some land in Hudson. I was like, okay, for what? You're like, no. I'm not just like making cider. I'm planting trees. And I was like, oh, you're really going to it. Most people would maybe start with like, oh, I'm going to maybe just order some bushel of apples and do it myself. But you were like, let's like plant some trees and let's go there. So how did you select your apple? How did you select it? And what did you have any background at all in being an orchardist?
No, none at all. I will say this for my ex-partner. He went full bore into stuff. And so this was a project that initially we were going to do together. That, yeah, just really wanted to go for it. Which was funny because then I ended up doing everything on my own. So it was definitely trial by fire. Made a lot of mistakes. Talked to a lot of people. Went to a lot of conferences. We have Cornell here in New York, and the Cornell Egg Extension, and the Cornell Egg School, and their research lab is just really incredible. A lot of apples that you like buy at the grocery store were developed by the lab at Cornell, and there's a lot of really great resources. Yeah, so just really went for it. And then the trees that I planted, so the tree thing started with, I have a license that's called a farm winery license, which means that it needs to be based on a farm property. And the idea is that you are making what's called a secondary product from something that's grown. So rather than just like the apple itself, it's taking the apple that you grow and turn it into something. And found some people that had some land that they weren't doing that much with and were willing to lease me some space. And there happened to be some really cool wild growing trees on the property. I mean, anyone's been in New York, you drive around in the spring when you can see them flowering, or right now when it's like kind of the end of apple season, but there are apple trees everywhere in New York. They're all over the place. They're either orchards that are no longer in use, or they are crab apples, or they're like kind of feral trees that, you know, a seed dropped somewhere and something sprouted. So there are these cool apples growing on the property, and cider apples are kind of, think of it as you would with grapes. Like, you're not necessarily going to be eating a wine grape. You're not eating like a, you know, Pinot Noir or whatever. Cider really tastes good. So like sometimes you eat a crab apple from a tree and it's really like tart, or it's like dries your mouth out. It's super astringent. So there are these kind of intense apples growing on the property, and I grafted them onto commercial nursery, and grafted material from these trees onto that rootstock, and I'm growing those apples.
Amazing. And I'm curious, like, you know, people picking their grapes, if to use your analogy, is a really interesting process, because you have to think of terroir and what grows super well. I really want to drill down into it, because, you know, we've never had anyone who's made cider in all this, you know, 500 episodes. How did you pick your apples? How did you, because it seems like once you commit, you're pretty like locked in. So like, how did you go through the process of being like, these are the apples that I want to begin the process with?
I mean, there are apples that are known to be good for cider. So part of it was doing research. Part of it was just tasting stuff and talking to other farmers. So but yeah, it is hard because it's a different kind of challenge because, you don't plant an apple tree and it grows the next year. This is a commitment at minimum of 4 years until you're going to have apples, or anywhere from, up to 12 years for just like a traditional classic apple tree to start producing apples. Which is why this is another thing, but it can be hard for cider makers now that are really interested in traditional varietals of apples to get the kind of apples they want to make the kind of cider that they want.
Why is it hard?
Well, okay, so think of any sort of fruit or vegetable that you're going to the grocery store and you see like a carrot. This is what it is. It's a carrot. Or you go to the farmer's market and you see a wide variety of carrots in lots of different colors. And these are just, fruits or vegetables that weren't grown for a really long time because of the commodification of food and big farms and people just kind of growing one thing. So just like with, carrots or bananas or whatever thing that there is in truth, maybe like dozens or hundreds of different kinds of that fruit or vegetable. With apples, there used to be hundreds of varieties that were grown in the US, a lot of them from New York or developed here in the United States, that just kind of fell out of favor when like big grocery stores and big farms started growing like red delicious, and so as people are being interested more and more in more traditional varieties or varieties that are better for cider and not necessarily for eating, it takes a while to produce that kind of volume, or otherwise to convince growers that they should invest the time and space and wait to get these apples because someone's going to want to buy them.
So interesting. So once you got the apples, once you got the trees, your process didn't start there, because you pretty much go from all the way to planting to bottling.
Mm-hmm.
And unless I knew about this beforehand and you kept it like a secret,
Mm-hmm.
I also feel you learned how to bottle, clean kegs, do label design, and essentially run the whole business. So what was that process, from from being like, okay, we're going to plant the trees, to when you were able to sip your first bottle?
So I mean, like I said, lots of mistakes, lots of learning along the way.
Can you share, as opposed to alluding to one, like what's one mistake that really jumps out?
Well, it's small things. Okay, so I'll start from the beginning. So I actually also buy apples from another grower, because especially in order to grow, I'll probably always buy kind of base apples from somebody else. And then this is actually the first year that I'm going to be able to include some apples that I have grown myself in a cider that I'm making. So to have an estate cider. So I'm trying to think of a specific example. I mean, one mistake is, so when I first started, I was making only one cider. I had one kind of juice that I was working with. I made one thing. And I offered it in bottles and cans, bottles and kegs. So it's kegging things as well. And was really encouraged by lots of different people to focus on kegs. People wanted them. They were moving really quickly. And it was, if I were to do it again, I would probably not have done that, because kegs, especially when you are doing it small scale and you don't have a lot of big equipment, like everything that I do is pretty small scale, and I don't have a ton of specialized equipment. And so it's just a lot of like labor, a lot of hand labor by myself to clean the kegs and fill the kegs and deliver the kegs and pick them up. And by volume, I mean, you can reuse kegs. The kegs I was doing, I still have now. But I just, I wasn't making as much money. And really, I think what I should have done was focus labor on doing like big bottling that might have required like wrangling more people and investing more in like glass. Glass is pretty expensive. And then spending time to open more accounts at like wine shops and restaurants, as opposed to bars who can sometimes be a little less loyal. I still have 2 accounts that I make cakes for and have lines. But I would have focused more on bottles because I think that would have been more sustainable growth.
You approach your cider making, it seems, at least to me, very similar to making natural wine.
Yeah.
Low intervention, like very much in the same space. Is that in the traditional mindset that you alluded to before, Spanish and American cider, or is that something you've adopted because of the desire to drink things that as little intervention as possible?
I mean, partly it has to do with the process and the space that I'm working in, and partly it's just I'm interested in storytelling. And I know this kind of sounds corny when I'm talking about making food, but I'm interested in sharing with people the experience that I have of working with apples. And this is a whole nother story, but the trees I originally planted had to be moved onto a new property.
I didn't want to bring it up because you're talking about it, but like if you might allude to the story, since you have touched on it, it's pretty amazing.
I'm trying to think of these guys aren't going to hear this. So I had the original property that was on, my friends were in contract to buy it. And they were buying it from this old farmer who had the land. He owned land under an LLC that he had incorporated. So while they were in contract to buy out this land from this guy, from this LLC, he sold the LLC to someone else who just had the money and the manpower to outlast my friends and break the contract through legal and perhaps otherwise means. And so they kind of gave up and left this property that somebody else now owns. And eventually they bought a new property, which is where I've moved the trees to. That's the short, and that's a short answer that I'm happy to expand on if someone wants to ask me in person, I guess. I don't know. It's a crazy story. But the space that I'm on now is just like, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's so perfect. I feel so lucky to be there. My friends who own the land are so supportive of me and what I'm doing, that since I moved on there, since I've moved to Cidery there, I just feel really grateful. And in fact, in the last couple of years, have had the time and space to explore that property. So a lot of what I do is working with things that are foraged from the land and kind of alluding back to like the tradition of folk wines and like farmhouse beers and farmhouse wines and farmhouse ciders, of just like working with what's around me. So in the spring, I make a dandelion cider, and that's just me. Like there are tons of dandelions that pop up in the spring, and gathering those and doing a infused cider with those dandelions, and make a cider that's infused with mugwort, which is, it's an herb, but it's weedy. It grows all over the place. It's this like feathery plant that grows everywhere, like on the side of the highway, along the seashore, like all over the place. But is really beautifully fragrant It's really herbal. It's kind of like sagey and minty. And hundreds of years ago, before hops were really common, it was used to bitter beer because hops are actually pretty tough to grow. There's this kind of like small band of environment that goes across the globe that you can grow hops in, but you can't really grow it outside of that band around the globe. And so people use different things in their beer. Those are like farmhouse beers, or like if you're familiar with what, say, like a gruit is, it's just like stuff that's grown on your property that you're using to flavor the thing that you like make and drink with your friends and family. And so I did a cider infused with mugwort. What else? There are wild grapes. Cool word, Nika. Wild grapes that grow on the property and actually grow all over New York that are native grapes. And I pick those at kind of the end of summer, early fall, and ferment those and then re-ferment cider on those. So it's like all this stuff that's around my space that is like picked in its season, and then I use that is my way of like sharing this like bounty that I have with people that I feel so lucky to have access to. It's also just like a gorgeous, beautiful place.
Amazing. Well, we're going to take a quick musical break.
Okay.
We're going to play a song from our archives, and then we'll be back with Nika from Greenpoint Cidery here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Hay muchos como yo, chicos, chicas pobres, no escuchamos tu rock, masticamos odio, chicos sin diversión, ni trabajo fijo. ¿Quieres tu estéreo? ¿Quieres que lo cuide? Cuida coches, te lo cuido. Cuida coches, te lo cuido. ¡Wow! Como yo, chicos, chicas pobres, no escuchamos tu rock, masticamos audio, chicos sin diversión, ni trabajo fijo. ¿Quieres un estéreo? ¿Quieres que lo cuide? Cuida coche, hazte lo cuido. Cuida coche, hazte lo cuido. Cuida coche, hazte lo cuido. Cuida coche, hazte lo cuido.
As you just mentioned, you have a wide variety of ciders that's not just apple, but picked and foraged from the surrounding property. All of them have really cool names, some of which are named after songs. I think our first love together was going out dancing at John Henry's in Eugene, Oregon. And seeing shows at Wow Hall.
Oh my God, yes.
Way back in the day. I've always associated you with music first, above all else. What are some of the names of your ciders and what are the references?
So one of my ciders, the mugwort cider that I was just talking about, is called Dream Baby Dream. It's named by a song by Suicide, which if you don't know that band, you got to look them up. This amazing kind of like pioneering synth experimental punk band. And yeah, the song is about dreams. Mugwort, if you're into like woo-woo herbalism, is said to give you crazy dreams. Like people use it actually as a to help them with lucid dreaming. And I've had friends say that if they like drank some of that cider, they like had bananas dreams. So that's one of them. I have another cider, the wild grape cider that I was talking about is called We're Laughing, which is a song from a 60s group called the Psychedelic Aliens. It's like a Afro-psych band from Ghana. And so the first time I released that cider was during the pandemic. And early in the pandemic, like when everyone was still super on lockdown, like in New York, like no one was going anywhere, we were like, most people were just in their apartments. And I was working on that label because I do all the label design myself. In this case, I had this idea of like watercolors influenced by what crushed grapes look like. And so I was like trying to get that right. And I'm like working on this stuff and I'm like dancing around my apartment kind of. And this song comes on the playlist that I was listening to. And I just had this idea that like, oh my God, I hope by the time I release this cider, like this is something that people can share, that like we can all be together, like laughing and having a good time together. And turns out I've released that cider again. For a second time, and I just made it for the third time. We're still in the pandemic, but someday it's a great picnic cider.
It was interesting to see how you use the pandemic, because I think when I came back to New York, you dropped off a small case of cider for me on the side of the road and you were doing deliveries with your dog. One of the other things that I saw you do that I found so amazing was you were doing sail freighting, which I thought was super cool, and I didn't even realize was an option for the uninitiated. What is sail freighting, and how did you work it into your cider practice?
So a lot of this and a lot of what I do comes back to community. So the property that I'm on is owned by, it's a group of friends that bought it all together, and there are several different houses on the property. And one of them is owned by a guy named Sam Merritt, who decided he wanted to bring carbon neutral shipping back to the Hudson River via sail freight. He bought this old cargo ship and restored it, and started doing some experiments with delivering stuff last year, and really has started this year to dial in on what they're doing, that every month, at the end of the month, they load up a bunch of goods in Hudson, which is where we're based, and sail it down the river to different ports along the way, stopping, ending at in New York City, where we do some events. And people can pick up cider that they've pre-ordered, or they can like I usually bring samples of cider for people to try or to like buy there on site. They load up with New York City goods and then bring them back up the river. And they're really serious about being carbon neutral. They're not turning on the engine. When they get to port, they're delivering things by cargo bicycle. So there was actually, I think there was one time where stuff, a lot of the cargo is like malt and grain for breweries and distilleries. And I'm pretty sure we brought some grain via horse and carriage over to Van Brent Distillery from the docks in Red Hook, which is where we go every month.
So it's also a time machine. It
is a total time machine. But okay, you want to talk even more time machine? The craziest part of that I was involved with. So there is a boat tour company called Classic Harbor Line, and they know about the boat, and they knew about, it's called Schooner Apollonia is the name of the ship that I work with. And they were reminded, there was an article about it in the New York Times. And I got a call from these guys, just like sorry, there's a motorcycle going by. Or I got an email, I guess, from these guys the day before the ship was due to leave port to go down to New York City. And they're like, hey, we want to buy like 6 cases. I don't see an option for that really on the website. And I called them and I was like, is this for personal use, or are you trying to sell them on your boats? And they're like, no, we want to buy them and sell them on the boats. And we would love, once the cider gets down to the city to come and pick it up by boat. And so the way it ended up working is that, and I actually got to be on the boat for this, is we sailed out. We were at the South Street Seaport, which was one of our destinations every month. We sailed out from the South Street Seaport to the middle of the Hudson River, and a rowing gig came up and met us, which is just like a big rowboat. And we transferred cider, 6 cases of cider, and also me from the sailboat to the rowboat, and like rowed back to the Chelsea Pier to these boats that are now selling cider on there. But like, that is such an old school way of delivering cargo. Like, that used to happen hundreds of years ago in New York all the time. Like, that's how stuff made it from ship to shore sometimes. But this guy, Patrick, who works at Classic Harbor Lines, was like, we are stepping backwards into the future, that people are trying to find ways that they can feel responsible and sustainable about how they're consuming things. And, you know, it's obviously not super scalable to be selling all of our stuff via sailboat and rowboat, but I think the more people that are inspired to do these kinds of things, the more accessible it becomes, and the more people learn about what different options are. And the fact that, you know, the Hudson River is, you know, shipping lines, or was for a really, really long time. So it's old school, but it's also, hopefully it can inspire people for the future. And it's also just people, you know, people are interested in stories, and people are interested in connecting with people. Their food or their alcohol comes from. And this is a way for them to be really, really intimately involved in, you know, not just getting to know the producers, but getting to know how stuff gets from one place to another.
Amazing. Let's end where we began, about misconceptions around cider. You thought it was sweet, as we all did, or lightning in a can, just high alcohol and just slam it. One of the other misconceptions that cider is only for one season. And one of the things from knowing you is understanding different ciders can be enjoyed at different times. How do you break that misconception? You know, what is a good cider rule for the various seasons?
I mean, the way that I make cider, the way that a lot of people in New York and a lot of producers around the US and increasingly in other parts of the world are making it, it's wine, it's a fruit wine, it's a fermented fruit. And so you can drink it and treat it as wine. You know, it's its own category, and different apples are going to taste differently in the bottle. You know, aging processes are going to be different. When people are using native yeast, you know, that's going to express terroir different. So, you know, I make a cider that is, the main cider that I make is called First Edition, is like good for hot weather. It's pretty crushable. It's still really dry. It drinks, I've had people say it drinks kind of like a pet nat. I also make a undisgorged, unfiltered, actual pet nat style cider. So it's bottled while it's still fermenting. That's the kind of stuff that, you know, you could eat with your dinner, or like take to the park. Or one of the ciders that I make is a cider that's infused with goldenrod, and it has a lot of pretty powerful flavor. It's very floral and aromatic. It has some like black pepper and like bitter wormwood notes that I tell people to drink like a digestif. You know, it's like your meal ender. That, yeah, cider is for all seasons.
Amazing. Well, Nika, thank you for joining us. If people want to find you, order from you, take a rowboat with you, how do they get a hold of you?
So they can find me on my website, which is just greenpointcidery.com. I'm also pretty active on Instagram, and my handle there is just Greenpoint Cidery. So yeah, contact me there. I'm still doing home deliveries, which I was doing all during the pandemic. So look me up.
Great. We have got another song from our archives, and then we'll be back with the second half of Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
There was a girl next door back then. She didn't know how to fit in, and everyone kept telling her, don't talk back, don't ask us why. Just sit down quietly and smile. Better to be seen than heard. Is that what it means to be a good girl? Everywhere loves to feel adrenaline. Let no one get in your way. You can be the hero, the heroine. Never back down, don't treat afraid. Keep pushing, pushing against the grain. It will get hard, but don't walk away. Do what you have to do just to stay and make it your kind of day. Surrender to the stories in your mind. You'll never know what you may find. Never listen when they call you insane. Just get out there and pave your own way. Everywhere loves to feel adrenaline. Let no one get in your way. You can be the hero, the heroine. Never back down, don't treat afraid. Keep pushing, pushing against the grain. There's no glory without a fight. You'll never know if you don't try. Everywhere loves to feel adrenaline. Let no one get in your way. You can be the hero. Everywhere loves to feel adrenaline. Let no one get in your way. You can be the hero, the heroine. Never back down, don't treat afraid. Keep pushing, pushing against the grain.
Good food is worth 1,000 words. This is Aarti Menon, and I'm delighted to share a new podcast with you, My Family Recipe, from Food 52 and Heritage Radio Network. Adapted from Food 52's much-loved column of the same name, the My Family Recipe podcast will bring its pages to life. Each episode of My Family Recipe brings you a cherished heirloom recipe and the story behind it, from voices across the world of food.
We'd open these tubs of dough and they would exhaust these incredible yeasty fumes, and it just smelled like nothing else. It was so intoxicating.
I'll interview writers and chefs, parents and children about what's passed down along with the foods that we know and love.
Chinese people aren't like born with a download on how to like velvet chicken. You know, like that's not something that just like comes to you.
Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, Adrianne, welcome to Snacky Tunes.
Thank you.
I know we're not going to go into it, but my vote is that you don't take down your story bio section.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just...
thorough.
It's thorough. How long did it take you to write it?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it was an afternoon.
All right. All we really need to know is that you started playing as a child and your father taught you how to play music.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a long list of inspirations.
Yes.
We'll sum it up like this. What from your childhood, teenage years still resonates today with you as a musician and a performer?
Well, I'm sure a lot, even just on a subconscious level, because I was taking in so much when I was a kid. I mean, I started playing when I was 6 and had a lot of... I got to work with a lot of older musicians who had been doing it for a long time. And my experiences were... I just kind of look at it like my school. Like,
yeah.
that was school for me. Recording and recording. I recorded a couple records before I was 16, and that was amazing. I would never take that back. And yeah, I learned a lot, and a lot of it, I'm sure, is why I'm where I am now.
Which is?
I guess I can't pinpoint it exactly, but even just, I guess, just feeling comfortable, having such a long relationship with music, and feeling. Like, you know, my guitar is like the closest thing to me. I don't know, I may not feel that way if I had just started playing, but since I've been playing forever, I mean, for as long as I can remember, I have a special relationship with it.
How long have you had that guitar?
This one I've had since I was 14.
Wow, it's in good shape.
Yeah, I try not to be too rough on it. Although recently it took a tumble.
Oh, what happened?
It was the first time I was just depositing a paycheck, and I stepped outside of the bank, and I had it in a soft case, a travel case, and I knew when I was taking that case out, I knew that it wasn't very well padded, and I was a little bit worried about it, but I didn't have my case. And I was using a friend's case, and the strap came off, and it just fell vertically, just straight down on the bottom of the body, and cracked the wood, split the wood up the top, up the face of the guitar, and then up the back too. Yeah, so I just started crying so hard.
Oh.
It was awful. I thought it was, because I opened up the case, I was like, oh shit, and I. It was a pretty intense moment. I felt like my baby had just fallen, but
it looks good now.
But now, actually.
You got all fixed up?
I got it fixed up.
Nice.
Got a good deal on it.
All right. Well, do you want to play us a song on your fixed up guitar?
Sure.
What are you gonna play for us first?
This one's new. It doesn't have a title yet.
All right.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take off my headphones.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I step outside and make my way on from Carolina. Anyway, the weather blows, home is where I find you. With the ache inside to ride the mighty wind and nothing more. Oh, I just wanna see you there, sleeping on my floor. like you. I just wanna kiss you. I don't know how to love you, but some days I miss you. I just wanna see you there, sleeping on my floor, with the ache inside to ride the mighty wind and nothing more. And I'm calling on angels now. I want them to set me free. I hope that they're real, though sometimes it feels like nobody's listening. When I was only 12 years old, my parents went walking. I hate those wicked words they'd say when they started talking. He was headed for the open road. She turned and slammed the door. Said learning love ain't easy, child, when all you see is war. And I'm calling on angels now. I want them to set me free. I hope that they're real, though sometimes it feels like nobody's listening. And the moon and the sun and the stars shone bright and high. And I can't help but wonder the way that the world goes by. Well, I hope that they're real, and I hope they can hear me cry. Pulling all the fences down and pushing on the levees. This water's getting high again, these hands are getting heavy. And we are all just hypocrites vying for a shore, with the ache inside to ride the mighty wind and nothing more. But she came and shook me tenderly one night while I was drinking. The alcohol was quick as sand and took me down a sinking. The sinking took me praying and I fell upon the floor. I said, I'm waiting for my time to go, please tell it to me, Lord. And I'm calling on angels now. I want them to set me free. I hope that they're real, though sometimes it feels like nobody's listening. And the moon and the sun and the stars shone bright and high. And I can't help but wonder the way that the world goes by. Well, I hope that they're real, and I'll wait for them till I die.
Awesome. Really nice. Really pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about the album, which you are considering, despite having previous albums. This is your first album, Hours for the Birds.
Mm-hmm.
Love the title.
Thank you.
Where did that come from?
Time flies.
Time flies?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. It's a pun?
Kind of.
I love it even more.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the process of putting out your first album, and when did you start writing songs for it, or is this are these songs from your entire life that got put into your first album?
These are songs that I've been working on for maybe, I guess the earliest one on there is from when I was about 17, which is Disappear.
Okay.
And then there's another track on there, Lighthouse, from when I was 18. And then it's basically I just chose these songs from a bunch of songs that I've written over the last 4 years.
How do you feel about it? Like, is it like having your first child?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I don't know, because I've never had a child, but I think, yeah, it's definitely vulnerable.
Yeah, I guess that's more, not in the birth way, but just like putting something out there that you created and sort of you're protective about it, but it's got a life of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all really special to me. And it's always it can be kind of scary putting something out there that's that close to you, but it's cool too to finally just let them go and let other people hear them.
So when you were writing the album, we always like to ask, what was the food and drink situation in the studio and the inspiration of sustenance from like, a dietary point of view?
What was I eating while I was recording it?
Yeah, and drinking and having in the studio.
It's funny, when I recorded these, I was alone the whole time.
Really?
I mean, no, it was me and then Rob Osterlin, the recording engineer.
Okay.
But I actually made this sandwich that sounds disgusting, but I still think about it. It's just bread. I don't remember what kind it was. It's the antithesis of the tortilla. I'm sorry, Jeff. But it had bread and then miso on it.
Like miso paste?
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna get really weird. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Peanut butter.
I'm with you so far.
Banana.
Still with, yeah.
And avocado.
Okay.
That's where I might lose some people.
Oh man,
It sounds really weird.
Just sounds really mushy.
Yeah,
It was mushy, but
I was gonna say that's. I'm less weirded out by the flavors, more of like a texture thing.
Yeah, it's just.
Did you toast the bread?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so there's some crunch there.
Yeah. Is that gonna? Do you see that making it on the Whirlybird menu anytime soon?
I mean, no.
I mean, I'll put it this way: miso, peanut butter, banana.
I just think that miso's. I guess I don't know.
Miso just adds a little bit of salt.
Yeah.
You don't put tons of miso.
No, I'm with you on that.
But banana and avocado, I will say that's weird. That's kind of odd.
What do you like about that flavor combo?
Well, I was thinking, I was craving too many things at once. Like have you ever had a smoothie with avocado in it?
Yeah.
That can be really good. And I was kind of wanting that, but I also wanted a sandwich.
Did you make this sandwich multiple times?
No. I've only ever made it the one time.
And how did you feel about it?
Well, it stuck in my memory.
Yeah, I don't think that's a flavor you would forget.
I really enjoyed it, and I think I'll make it again someday. And I had it with I had a beer with it, a stout.
Okay.
I was really proud of that snack.
That's just a lot of food thickness.
Yeah, well, I like thick food.
Okay. Okay.
I think some of the most beautiful music can be made when you're just on the verge of throwing up. You know what I mean? That's when you can be truly honest with yourself and with others.
I think this was towards the end of the day, and I was really tired. I felt empty.
That sounds like a very tired made meal.
Also, I didn't have that many groceries left. It was kind of just what was left, and I put them all together.
That also sounds like a end of the grocery.
Yeah. So.
You know what? That was a lie. I had my choice of so many different
groceries. Man.
I just wanted that.
It was first thing in the morning, and I just got to the grocery store. Do you remember what song you were recording around that time?
After I believe that was the banana avocado miso song that I.
That's burning up the charts in the Philippines, I think.
Yeah.
The dance that goes with it is also very amazing.
Yep, it's nauseating.
I think there's no way I can remember what songs I was working on that day, but I could play something from around that time.
Okay. Let's hear a song from that time. What are you thinking?
I'll play the title track of that album.
Okay.
So this is called Hours with the Birds. Let's see if I can remember how to play it.
I got something here, it's a chance. I'ma make my changes as I go in the city lights dance away the stars. I have met all kinds of reasons why the seasons leave their scars. I am thin as cinnamon and tarnished like these metal cars that drive along the rivers of the tar. I am weatherproof as the rain, and I fooled every lover into drinking up my pain. I am hanging by the edges of my name, but I am warm, so comfortable forgetting about the storm. I love Minnesota, Michigan, Colorado too, Atlanta, Montana, Nebraska, and the moon and you. I must have been a traveler inside of the womb, never had a place with a living room. You said a house is a tomb. Well, zoom, 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 here we go, Annie, no more planning. Isn't this dandy? I've got you and you've got me. To the lake, this time of year it's frozen through, ain't nothing gonna break. Well, I'll take you there and show you where I used to spend my time, before working, before leaving, before wine. I love Minnesota, Michigan, Colorado too, Atlanta, Montana, Nebraska, and the moon and you. Life is easy coming, it's easy go. 2 hours with the birds and I guess they flew. I just can't get a grip on this place, Billy. Well, zoom, 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 here we go, Annie, no more planning. Isn't this dandy? I've got you and you've got me.
Awesome. That's a good title track.
Thank you.
When you write a title track, or when you name a song, or an album after a song, how does that process go? Do you write the song and then you're like, oh, I think this song represents the album, so I'm going to name the album after it, or what's the thought behind it?
I really had no... finding a name for the album was something that came kind of last, and it was after I had all the songs together. And I just felt like Hours with the Birds. I mean, it wasn't the plan to name it after one of the songs, but I just felt like that kind of captured the spirit of the record in general, because it came from a time when it's kind of, a lot of stuff is about growing up and just that feeling, and I felt like it was appropriate, and I just liked the way it sounded, and kind of wanted to just do the obvious thing. I just kind of wanted to go for it and not try to make it any more mysterious. Just name it and have the first song be that. It's not necessarily the peak of the album or anything, or I don't know. Yeah, it's just is. Yeah, I just liked it.
Sometimes you just got to go after things that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No mystery.
No mystery.
Too much mystery.
Too much mystery?
There's too much mystery. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say that I feel sometimes in this area, there's sometimes like things are shrouded in mystery, or...
Yeah. I feel like we're living in a post-mystery world, and I think she's kind of leading the way, you know?
Yeah.
It's post-mystery.
Pomai,
yeah.
Or Pomi?
Pomis.
Pomis.
Pumice.
Pumice. So what's next? What do you got coming up? What's on the dockets?
Well, I'm gonna do a tour in May, and I'm
Is your
just
boss
starting
gonna
to
let
plan.
you get off work?
I hope so, but I don't know. Maybe I won't talk too much about that right now. I'm just kidding.
Well, we can work it out. I mean, it's a perfect time to work out a schedule. No.
Yeah, we got time on it, right? Yeah. Joe, we got time on the air for them to work
Jeff
at the
has
schedule.
always been really flexible about music stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I've worked at jobs. As long as the people who work for me if they do a good job, they can come and go, and I'll bend over backwards for it. Because I always work, when I worked at places, I just did a really, really good job, and then I went on tour, and then when I came back, they gave me the job back because I did as good or better a job than anybody else they could find. So if the job, I also never expected that job to be back for me. So I had a lot of jobs, but I try to be flexible, as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be.
There's no point. I mean, you gonna work at my coffee shop for the rest of your life?
You are.
I mean, yeah, I am. But that's my choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're gonna go on tour.
Jeff just makes it clear that as long as we do a Skype session where I'm showing him me practicing making an egg every night that I'm on tour, I just have to be practicing and further perfecting the Whirly Bird breakfast taco and send him evidence.
How are your breakfast taco making skills?
She's actually really, really good. She came in and just I just showed her one time, and she even got the nuances of the key is how you scramble the egg, and she mastered it.
What's the key?
It's scrambling the egg, putting it on a cold, a little bit of oil in a cold pan, and then just moving it around so that it's right between being underdone and overdone, and the egg is still shiny, and it has this almost cheese.
You make curds. You sort of steam it.
Yeah,
that's how I do my eggs.
It's in my opinion, it's the only way.
It's the only way.
That's how you scramble it.
You make a big old curd.
Yep.
You don't want it to be dry.
No, I don't like people who when you see the pan afterward, it's all burnt and the egg's all brown and things like that. Some people do scrambled eggs on a really high heat.
Yeah.
Make them, they scramble in a minute. I don't get that.
I don't know. I think it's I don't know why that was ever cool. Maybe they just, I think those people have just never had eggs the right way. You know what I mean?
Maybe they're impatient. I don't know. I feel like you just gotta wait. You just gotta wait for your eggs to scramble.
Whatever floats your boat, though. If you like that, burnt taste.
I don't know. I really feel that there's a right way and a wrong way to make scrambled eggs.
Yeah, I think that there's one way to do it.
So you're gonna go on tour in May.
Yeah.
You're playing a show soon, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm playing on the 15th, which is this Wednesday.
Where are you playing?
I believe it's this Wednesday. Yeah, at Rockwood Music Hall, Stage 2.
Nice.
In Lower East Side.
Nice. I've yet to go there. I heard it's nice, though.
Yeah,
it's a cool place.
It'll be fun. And I'm also, no, that doesn't. I'm playing in Boston soon, too. But
Beantown. Go to Anna's Taqueria. They have great burritos there.
So good.
Have you had those? Yeah, it's the best. That might be my favorite.
I feel like every city I've been in, I seek out the Mexican food.
I think it's partially because New York's Mexican food overall is really lacking.
I think so. I mean, you can find it. You can know if you know where to find it. You can find it. There's two places that are gone from the Williamsburg area that I lament every day. Matamoros grocery store in the back of it. Between North 6 and North 7.
Yeah, but Matamoros has been gone for...
I know that. I mean, I still lament it. And my secret, it was La Valita Bakery on Grand and Bedford, the one with the dirty old cakes in it.
Oh, yeah.
$2 got you a taco that was overstuffed that you...
Wait, they made tacos there?
They made... Dude, they closed. It's gone. It's too late now. But they made chorizo tacos that you get one for $2, and it was overstuffed. They give you 2 tortillas, so you lift up 1 tortilla and eat over the first tortilla, and the stuff that would fall out of the first taco was your second taco, and it cost $2, and I lived on that.
I didn't even know they had I just ignored it.
I never told anybody about it because I wanted it to be my secret, and now it's gone, and now I'm sad about it. What?
do it.
Do what?
Do that.
No.
You can add that.
No, that's there.
Have you been to Mexico 2000? Up on Grand and Hooper?
That's where I get my chorizo.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the place that's still kind of holding the torch.
That place is great.
Yeah, I had to learn Spanish because I wanted to order my chorizo from them, and they won't.
Do they make their own chorizo?
They make their own chorizo, and it's unbelievable.
It is. That place is. I got to go back there.
It's slamming.
It's slamming. All right, so Adrian, what last song do you have for us?
I could play a newer one, or I could do one off of the record.
Whatever you want.
All right, I'll do this one.
But wait, before we go, how do people find you online? What's the nuts and bolts?
Well, you can get my record at adriannelenker.bandcamp.com.
Okay.
Or I have a Facebook page as well, just Adrianne Lenker, or my website, adrianne.com.
Just adrian.com?
Adrianne or Adrianne Lenker, either will take you there.
That's amazing that you got just your first name. .com.
Yeah.
My dad's a web designer, and he got it for me when I was like 12.
Back.
He was on top of it.
There you go.
Teaching how to play music and buy new websites. Well, guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being our first show of the year.
Awesome.
Again, Happy New Year. Last day to say it.
Yep. Happy New Year, everybody. Don't try and say it to me tomorrow.
No. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Greg in LA.
Greg.
And then we have our first bar food blowout coming up on February 11th at Park Slope with the Maharlika and Jipney people.
Amazing.
Rackle Dads will be DJing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll try and come out.
Yeah.
Can I bring my kid?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Bar friendly. All right, here we go. Last song, Snacky Tunes. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
New York City gripped me like a big old machine. I went into one side, landed in a dream. It stirred me up and made me shout, and sometimes I forgot about the way the wind blows in and out of the cottonwood trees. And oh, it's easy to lose your mind. I might have lost mine if I hadn't found you. The avenues, the boulevards, businesses and schoolyards, shopping malls and motor cars, all in one scene. The lowest lows and the highest highs, the meanest noise and the lullabies, the poison and the compromise, the unspoken scream. And oh, it's so hard to find your place. I never found mine if I hadn't seen your face. And you can be my boss to Keaton, I'll be Blossom Deary. We can see the world so clearly. You'll color the gray away, I will sing you songs all day. The decay will just turn to bloom as we look at the good old-fashioned moon. Well, New York City split me like a log in a mill. Half of me happy, the other half ill. But I feel myself a-warming to the old neon chill. I still feel a longing, but it's chased by a thrill. And oh, it's so hard to find your place. And I never found mine if I hadn't seen your face. And you can be my boss to Keaton, I'll be Blossom Deary. We can see the world so clearly. You'll color the gray away, I will sing you songs all day. The decay will just turn to bloom as we look at the good old-fashioned moon.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
This program is powered by Simplecast.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.